Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm getting an echo. Not sure what. Oh, is that better? Can you guys hear us okay? Let us know if you can. Welcome to the October Empower panel. You can see I'm very celebratory of October right now. Julie, I see you are too. You have some skeletons. Yes. And I thought, Nikki, were those pumpkins on your shirt?
No, the flowers.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll pretend they're pumpkins. They were orange.
And they're pumpkins. I'd much rather be in a Halloween costume.
I know. You're like the Halloween queen.
My jam.
I will tell you, we should have had pictures up for you to share. Every year in the Facebook group, we do a costume competition. So I'll be pulling that up for this coming week. And we have the winner of the 2021 costume competition with us today, Jen Poole. Who was a Barbie doll, obviously.
Yeah. I had great plans. For this year. It was going to be Jack and Jill, so we'll see how this goes. But I might still be Jill. My Jack's a little out of commission right now during Halloween, so
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I can't wait. I can't wait to see everyone's. My children determine what I am, and we're Pokemon again this year. But so just different Pokemon. Couldn't be the same ones because that would be way too cheap. But here we go. Here we are. Okay, so couple of things before we get started. These are Empower panels. We do one every single month. Let us know in the comments if this is your first one, because I always like to see if we have any newcomers. But we kind of poll the people that we know in 911, looking for topics that aren't often discussed. So we can get a panel of women together from different perspectives and talk about these topics. So today we're going to be talking about traveling for work. In-person conferences are back. Yeah, Janine, first one. Woo. In-person conferences are back. There's a lot of traveling going on. I know I've been a little crazy lately. Jen's actually traveling right now. Nikki has her suitcase packed behind her, getting ready to go. So I'm just going to have everybody introduce themselves, talk about the travel that they do for work. Before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Datamark. They sponsor every single one of these Empower panels, so we can bring them to you at no cost. And again, these will be available on demand always, as long as Crowdcast is up and working. And then also you can go back and watch any of the other Empower panels we've done. I think this is our fourth one, fourth or fifth. And then be on the lookout for November and December. So I want to share a little something with you before we get started. Two things, actually. One, again, it's October, and I just want to comment that it's a remembrance month for two things that are near and dear to the hearts of many women in 911. One is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and one is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I know I'm going to get emotional right now because I'm a little raw, but I just want to say that we all either know someone going through this, or you may be going through this yourself or have been, and we just want to say that we are with you. We have two charities that we are supporting this month. 911 Wonder Woman. I've worked with dispatchers that volunteer for these specific organizations. And these organizations are ones that use the money that they get to go directly to the folks who are suffering or who need the assistance of these organizations. There's not a lot of overhead. They're local. So I'm going to post in the comments a link to our online store where you can read more about the shirts that we're selling and the charities. 50% of everything we bring in will go directly to the charities. So, I got through that. Yay, me. Okay, so on to the topic that we are here to discuss. I'm going to share my screen really quickly here. This topic came about when I was on the road obviously, and talking to one of my good friends about leaving my iPad in my room after I checked out. And she was very nice. She helped me. We left the meeting, went back to the hotel, got the iPad, thank goodness. But her idea was to make kind of a checklist of sorts that you could then turn into a luggage tag, put it on your luggage, and before you leave your room to check out, that'll be at the forefront. So you would just look at this, make sure you check your hanging clothes, your drawers, the shower, remember your chargers, your medicine, your keys. So we kind of compiled a list of things that we've either forgotten or almost forgotten and put them here on this luggage tag. So I'm going to post this in the group when we're done here today, but also I'm going to have these made into luggage tags to give out to folks who I do see out on the road and at conferences. And I'll probably share a bunch of them with all of you because you're always on the road too, and you can help distribute them. So be on the lookout for those. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to dive in. I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves and also let us know what kind of your level of travel is and has been in your career and what you struggle with most. So Tina, we're going to start with you. Now I'm on mute. Jen,
now.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Hi, everyone. My name is Tina Bonetta, and I am the director for Aurora 911 in Aurora, Colorado. Hands down, the best center in the nation, according to me. I am the senior member of this panel today. I've been in the industry for 24 years. And so a lot of travel, not only traveling by air to conferences and trainings, but also I was crazy enough for about 7 years of my career to commute by vehicle. And so I drove out of town to where I was working, had an apartment in another city, 5 hours away from home. And I drove there every week and drove back. And I did that for 7 years because, you know, why would anyone in their right mind do that for 7 years? And so I'm happy to burn my suitcase. And I did buy some new ones after I burnt the other one, but, been traveling a long time and learned a lot of lessons the hard way and some the easy way. And I'm just really happy to be here and share some of this wisdom with you. But my recommendation is don't live 5 hours away from where you work. That's all I have to say about that. And I'm not talking about it anymore. So Sarah, it's back to you.
That's just like solid advice. I think we all need to hear it. Thank you, Tina. Jen, we'll go to you next.
Awesome. Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be on this call. So my most favorite people. So everybody that has met me before knows I travel a lot. So if you're following me on social media, I like to post about it. I'm currently traveling right now. I have been traveling, though, in public safety altogether. Gosh, I've been in public safety 19 years. 14 of those years I spent in the PSAP. And I'll be honest with you guys, after my 14th year and I joined into the private sector, that was my first time even really flying for work or doing anything. This is, a lot of you know, like Tina was saying, you know, we don't get to go to conferences as frontline telecommunicators, very, very few and far between. And so right before I took a job with private sector, I actually started doing call for papers. And that was my first at local conferences, but not going over into other states. So I was kind of thrusted into it with no guidance of how do I do this? And so I reached out to a couple people like you guys are doing today, talking to us, like suitcases, how do, you know, what do you pack? What do you bring? All those different things. So I get a chance to travel all over the US, and I'm very fortunate to do that and visit your 911 centers and go to the conferences. Like Sarah just said, it's full on conference season. So I am in Biloxi, Mississippi right now. So if anybody on this call is in Mississippi, excited to see you this week. but I'll be home for another week, and then I'm on the road again down in Sandustin for the Florida conference. So, a lot of fun stuff that I could talk to you about. Losing things is the number one thing that happens to me. So I recently just lost a jacket at the Gulf Coast conference, but hindsight is always good to have a few friends that are still in the area, because somebody from Baldwin County 911 actually went and picked it up for me. So got lucky there, but excited. And I do travel a lot, like I mentioned, personally. And we were talking earlier about hiking. I just got into that. So a lot of fun things, but excited to be on this call.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, we will go next to Nikki.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nikki Tidy. I'm a project manager with Mission Critical Partners. Prior to Mission Critical, as you saw my comment in the chat, I was the 911 director in Orange County, Virginia. And hands down, Orange County is the best in the world. So you can be the best in the US, we'll take the best in the world.
Intergalactic champion.
We can both be number one. Yeah, right. Just remember 911 on your dial pad, but number one in your heart. So anyway. As a 911 director, I actually did travel quite a bit. I was really heavily involved with APCO standards. I did go to a lot of all the APCO conferences, and then the standards committee met at least twice a year. So I was on the road a decent amount, nowhere near as much as I am on the private side. I leave today, like that's my suitcase. I actually leave tonight and we'll be hitting Maryland and Tennessee this week. And I think this is the 7th or 8th week on the road, which is kind of unusual. We don't normally do it, as we do travel a lot, but the last 2 months have been a really, really heavy travel season for me. So excited to be here and to pass on any tips and tricks. And yeah, I have lost my fair share of stuff too. So, nice to see everybody.
Thanks, Nikki. Okay, now over to Julie, who is our travel novice of the group.
Yes. Excuse me. So my name's Julie. I'm the senior supervisor at Westcom Regional Dispatch in Massachusetts. We're hiring. If anybody wants to move to Mass, we're hiring. Let me know. I'll send you an application.
Recruiting. Shameless.
Every dispatch center is hiring, but so are we. So I'm also the 911 Wonder Woman Events Committee's co-chair with the fabulous Sam Hopkins as my partner in crime.
Whoop, whoop.
I've been in dispatch for about 8 years, but up until recently, I've never really traveled before for anything. I grew up just above the poverty line. So growing up, we didn't really have money for vacations or traveling. And my parents, when I started going on planes for work, had zero advice for me. So it's been a wicked big learning curve for me. And Sarah and I were talking, we figured I can't be the only person that knows nothing about traveling. So that's how this came to be.
Thanks, Julie. Yes, we have a packed agenda. We'll try to get through as much as possible. So I want to start with the financial discussion, because if you are traveling for work, that means some of it may be covered, right? And there's some things that you need to know. For me, I started as a consultant at 21 years old, and like my third week on the job was told to go to APCO, which I had no idea what APCO was, or 911 for that matter. And I just was like, I didn't know. I spent all of my own money because I didn't know exactly how to get reimbursed. I didn't understand what I could buy or what I couldn't. I didn't eat a lot on that trip, is what I remember, having a lot of headaches. So let's talk about kind of the basics of what to be aware of before you go. Plan your spending and make sure you get clear distinction on what you can and cannot spend government money on. So who wants to lead us off? Okay, Tina, go ahead.
Okay, everyone. That is so weird. Is anyone else hearing an echo? How about now? Crazy. Okay, so when you first begin traveling, it's really important, especially if you're traveling for work and you work for a government agency, to check with your manager, human resources, or whomever it is that you'll be interacting with for your travel, and do this ahead of your trip. Find out what the policies and responsibilities are for your travel regarding, do you have a travel card? Or is this reimbursement? And those will require you to approach things differently. So some organizations reimburse to the penny, in which case you have to keep all of your receipts for incidentals and meals, and they have to be itemized, and you have to just have that plan in place to keep all of them, bring them, and be reimbursed. Some organizations, like organizations I work for, tend to go with a standard rate per diem, which you can find out what the rate is, and it makes it a lot easier, because then you don't have to keep all of your receipts. You just have to fill out all of your forms to make sure that you're accounting for all of the meals that you're entitled to be reimbursed for, incidental expenses, travel expenses, etc. And it does make it a lot easier. So if you have a choice in the matter for policymakers, standard per diem is always the best bet for travelers, just because it's already stressful enough without having to also, and thank you, Nikki, for dropping the link in for the GSA standard rates. So check that out. Additionally, find out what you can and cannot purchase for reimbursement. So some organizations will, reimburse you for a Lyft or an Uber, but they won't reimburse you for the tip. These are just nuances that are really important to find out the details on, so that you go into it with your eyes wide open. And I'm not saying don't tip the Uber driver, but just be prepared that that may be coming out of your pocket, and know that that's okay, but at least And then for those of you who might be, maybe you're a little strapped for cash and you don't have the card or the means to just purchase everything on your own and wait for reimbursement, many organizations will also advance your per diem and travel. So do ask the questions. It's really important. And certainly don't travel out of state without the means to feed yourself and travel. Make sure you speak up and ask those questions ahead of time.
This is going to be a theme today, is you knowing what questions to ask before you go, because a lot of times people have been traveling, they travel the time, they even forget what to tell you, right? So by asking these questions, you're not only getting the information that you need, but you're kind of reminding the folks that you're asking that you need more information, and hopefully they'll help you.
Even on the private side, we have to understand the rules. Like I have one client and I cannot tip more than 20% on a receipt. So if I do tip additional, right, I leave cash. But same thing too, right? Just knowing those little nuances. And I think both on the private and the public side, alcohol, just keep it separate. Just get a separate receipt. And it keeps it cleaner and stuff like that. And yes, sometimes you can submit for it, sometimes you can't. But that way you're never caught in the bind, like I have alcohol in a receipt or anything like that. Right, and then having to explain it, and it's a public record and all that fun stuff. So I've been there. I had to write the dear county manager memo before, totally accidentally. I just had to justify and explain it. So the county worked with me, but just it's so much easier just to keep it separate.
I agree. They used to ask us, the county used to ask us to like take a Sharpie and like black out any alcohol that was on the receipt. But then you're like handing in a receipt with all these lines. You're like, sorry. So it's just, it's better. It's better that way.
So I actually ran into a problem last year at APCO where my department paid for my hotel room with their credit card, but I didn't have the credit card on me, and they didn't fill out that pre-paper that they have to fill out to get it charged without you physically having the credit card on you, because they just didn't think of it. So I was stuck in the hotel lobby for like 3 hours trying to get a hold of my bosses to get them to fill out this paperwork so I could check in.
Oh my God.
So definitely, if your job is paying for your hotel room and you're not going to have the physical credit card, ask and make sure that they fill out that paperwork ahead of time.
There is a way around that. If you use the apps and you put the credit card on file in the app in your profile, the app, you do not actually have to go to a check-in desk. You can check in on the app, you can select your room, you can get your key, and you never have to speak to anybody at check-in. So there is a way around that. Like, so I've already checked in for my hotel tonight, and I won't stop at the front desk, and I'll just go. They don't ask you for ID, nothing. You just go straight to your room. So just if you're allowed, but again, right? Find out even if you're allowed to save the credit card on an app, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's
I don't
good.
think my bosses would have let me save the credit card on an app.
So, but anyway,
I'm not important enough yet.
Yeah.
They're always.
Well, I was going to just kind of interject too, that you have to make sure that your employer is good with you having that card on file for incidentals. So a lot of those hotels will ask for a credit card for incidentals. So if you're going to use the company central purchasing card for that, just make sure that they are okay with that before you add it.
Okay, let's talk about expenses and ways to save money, because you're not always going to have everything covered in terms of food. Sometimes you're paying out of pocket because your agency can't pay for you. Sometimes you're on a per diem. When you're on a per diem, you get so much a day. So anything you're not spending, or if you spend over, you have to pay that out of pocket. And sometimes you have a limit. So when you're going to conferences in particular, food at the conference center is just wildly expensive. Food at hotels is wildly expensive. You know, going out to dinner can be expensive, especially if it involves taking an Uber or cab. So what are some tips that you all can give from experience in how to save money when you're on the road? Jen, you go first.
Okay. That's interesting. I think for most of us who travel a lot like we do, and Nicole probably can talk on this, and Tina, you guys know, a lot of times I don't eat because I'm so busy. So do not go by that. But I will tell you, I'm already dipped into my Halloween candy already for the conference. But that's what I ate today. But I will, a lot of times what we typically find is, I tend to have opportunity to grab something on the flight, like a snack that they give you for free. And I'm the worst about telling you, and my boyfriend can probably tell you, I will take all the free snacks. And so my backpack currently has like a ton of stuff in it from like several flights. So anytime I can grab something free, and especially at the hotels, in the mornings, you're always going to have the granola bars and the apples and the bananas and things that are sitting out if you're staying at certain properties. I'm an advocate for the properties that provide free water. For some reason, that's a really big deal to me. Water is huge. It's expensive at conferences. And it shouldn't be. And the other thing I would touch on too is like waters in particular. A lot of your vendors, and Nicole probably can talk about this too, but we usually have waters in our booth. If we do, ask us and we'll give you one for sure if you're looking for a water or something like that. But when it comes to cutting costs, I think the easiest thing to do is check the menu first. I have a habit of like wanting to pick restaurants because of the way they look. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty one. Let's go there. And then you look at the menu, you're like, oh, wait, this is expensive. So, check the menus before you go. It's something to think about. And also, just tying back into what you guys were saying earlier about making sure that you separate the receipts. Don't limit yourself. I hate to say this, if you're in a position where you can go out to eat and it is something good and, you can only expense $20 or $15, do that and have a separate receipt for that. But this is an opportunity for you to network and to be out with people and have a good time and experience it. Because when you go to the conference, if you're always worried about things like that, it can make it not as fun and you don't get an experience to really live it and be engulfed in what's happening at the conference. So definitely those are some of the tips I would have, but I'm sure others have a few to add too.
I will add on to your water comment because that is really huge. Water is so expensive, especially like in airports. I bring an empty jug on the airplane as big as will fit in my carry-on, and I get through security and I fill it up at a water fountain, or a lot of airports have those water bottle fillers, or like if you go and get a coffee, a lot of places will give you ice water that you can pour in. And again, like if you're at the conference and you don't, like, depending on what city you're in, you may or may not want to drink the tap water. So, finding, they'll provide, like sometimes they provide jugs, like in the sessions, right? Jugs of water and glasses. And I take my water jug and I just fill from there. So it's important to stay hydrated when you're at conferences for sure. And that's a good point. Okay. What else you guys got?
So I'm a huge proponent of packing things like protein bars or running to the store and getting protein bars. I found that, during conferences, especially where you don't really know when you're going to feel hungry, but just having those handy things on hand, and especially when they're high protein, they seem to kind of just get you through until the meals. I get quickly fatigued on restaurants and going out to eat when I'm traveling for conferences. So I'm also, a must for me is having a microwave and a refrigerator in my hotel room. And then on those times when I do go out, and they always give you way more than a single serving of food, but I mean, there's no shame in my leftover game. I will pack that up and put it in my fridge. And then just heat it up again when I'm hungry. There's nothing, the socialization is really important. So you don't want to just hole up in your room and eat leftovers. But, sometimes I feel better when I feel like I'm in control of the food that I'm consuming and the healthiness of the food I'm consuming. And it can start to feel a little out of control 2 or 3 days into a conference. So just, or run down and buy some yogurt. I love yogurts. They're so handy, and bananas are my favorite, but they're so portable. And never feel like you can't do that. No shame in it, ladies.
Yes, totally agree. Have it on hand. You never know when you're going to become hangry. You don't want to be hangry all over the people at the conference.
And Instacart's a good one.
I have a coffee tip.
What was that, Julie?
I said,
yes. Let's hear all the coffee tips.
I hate having to spend like $4 on a coffee for a week in a row, because it's already like $20 just spent on coffee. But I also don't like hot coffee. So what I do is I bring like a glass mason jar, and I make the free coffee in my hotel room the night before. And then I put it in the fridge, and then the next morning it's iced.
Oh, look at you. I didn't know that. So smart.
You're a better person than me because I need my hot latte from Starbucks.
I'll spend my whole travel budget on good coffee.
Yeah.
The other thing, Julie, is Starbucks. Actually, you can go to Walmart, and Starbucks sells those instant. They go in water bottle. They look like Keurig cups, right? So they look like the little Keurig things. And I usually would take those and just, because you can pack those. They're small enough, liquid size, and you can carry them on and put them in your bags. If you don't, put it in Ziploc so it doesn't get wet. But Instacart's a big one for that kind of stuff too. You can Instacart to your room. A lot of us from Rapid SOS do that, and so we'll send certain items. Like Tina was saying, we can only eat certain types of things. We were working out, we're doing all this stuff when we're home. We want to make sure we continue to do that when we get to a conference, because it is very difficult to stay on track. So Instacart's a great one for that, because you can have it shipped to your room and sent there before you even show up for your water and all those things as well.
Yes, that's a good tip. I only just last year, someone told me they did that. I was like, brilliant. Yes. Okay. Let's move on. One thing I don't think we mentioned is, before you go, if you can find a hotel that does free breakfast. Not all of them do. Usually, like, the more expensive ones don't, because that makes sense. So just be aware, because that can be really helpful too, to fill up for the day, grab like some fruit to go and all that stuff. Okay, I want to next talk about travel safety. because a lot of times these conferences are in big cities. They might have, every city has its good parts and its not so good parts. And, as a visitor, you don't know where that is. So the one thing I'll say before I dive in is do your research before you go. I used to just fly wherever. I didn't even know like where in the country I was, like Minnesota, where's that? Like I would just go. But it's really, really important to, before you go, kind of research the area. Where's the conference center? Where's your hotel? Is it walkable? That kind of thing. So let's dive in. What are your best travel safety tips?
I can start.
Go ahead, Jen. You lead us
Okay,
off.
so I will start. This is I'll kick off a couple different things, and I will tell you, I travel a lot alone. I have been for quite some time. Number one, I think number one travel safety tip I think I will tell anyone, and I still believe this day. Cell phone service isn't always that great, and use Google to get directions if you're traveling in your own car to get somewhere you're not sure. Obviously, I'm an advocate for trying to screenshot my directions while I have service. So like if Waze is on there, a lot of people don't even know that I do this. So because I have been traveling in locations that the service just went out and I'm driving in my car and now I don't know where I'm going and I'm on a street that isn't familiar and it's probably not in the best area. So I have a habit of screenshotting the overview. So number one tip for there. Safety wise, I would tell you, a lot of us, we like to Uber and travel them together. If you're going with someone and you have someone at the conference with you or someone, if you don't know anyone, I'll tell you how I do it. But if you can travel together, please travel together. I think that's the biggest thing. And I will tell you, I've traveled a lot of areas like city of Chicago, Baltimore. The conference in APCO was in Baltimore a couple years ago, guys. A lot of us were there. Don't get on those scooters if you don't know where you're going. But when it comes to using Lyfts and Ubers and things like that, especially with Uber, Rapid SOS, we power the safety shield. If you're not familiar with that, make sure that next time you take an Uber or you're on a ride, before the driver even shows up, the safety shield, it gives you an opportunity to share a ride with a loved one, let you dial or text 911 from that. A lot of people don't realize that what 3 words, like you just mentioned, yes, there's a lot of different features today that are part of what we do at Rapid SOS, but also your centers are doing with other partners as well. So this data is really important, but sharing a ride with a loved one's a big deal for me. If I do get an Uber and I don't know where I'm going, make sure you are sending that location because that person can follow you. And then if you do dial or text 911, that data is available in those centers using our technology as well today. But big advocate for that. Life 360 is a good one. I'll tell you, when I don't know where I'm going, I'll make sure somebody is following me on Life 360. Rick Thomas, who travels a lot with me, likes to follow me sometimes if I get lost. Because you are traveling alone. And it's just important to tell your friends and your family where you're going. And if you're going to get into an Uber and go somewhere, just let them know. I would tell you a couple experiences quickly. Check the license plate on the tag plate number on the Ubers and Lyfts because they will be different. Do not get in it if it's different. I've had it different 3 times. That's a lot, I think, even, in general, like 3 different times I've had the tags not match. And I once I chose to get in and the others I did not. So I would just be particular about those things. And you don't have to get in. Just because he or she is there does not mean you have to get in that car. And I did have an incident one time in Chicago we could touch on later where the driver would not let me out of the vehicle and kept circling. So again, that's why I highly suggest traveling with others and using the safety features if you can, especially the one for our Uber today, which is one of our partners. It will ensure your safety and your location, number one.
Yes, good to be aware of all of that. I was not. Rick was the one who actually demonstrated it for me when I was getting in an Uber in some city. I don't remember. One more thing in terms of cell phone coverage. A lot of times when you're walking around at a conference, you're in a big city and you have to use your phone to walk, right, from one place to another. A lot of times the big cities, those buildings will block your signal and mess it all up. Especially I've noticed this when I'm trying to walk somewhere. So yeah, knowing where you're going before you lose the signal, even when you're walking, is really important. Okay, what else?
Well, I just want to double down on what Jennifer said, because I think that's probably the number one rule of traveling alone is communication. I don't leave without my husband, my family having my itemized itinerary with flights and the location of my hotel. When I arrive, I give them my room number and the direct dial number so that they can reach me if needed as well. But for those of you traveling alone, and especially if you're kind of a first timer or you don't know a lot of people, always check for conferences. Oftentimes they have like first timer get-togethers at the beginning of the conference, or check with your local chapter, APCO and NINA, and find out who from your area is also attending, and then share your contact information, meet up with them, make an account, like create accountability partners with other people while you're there so that you have a quick way to check in. You have a way to Mayday if you're not feeling comfortable in a situation. And you're also going to build those relationships. So you have that opportunity to build friendships, but at the same time, you're kind of covering yourself. And then the other travel thing that's very important for me is whenever I'm staying in a hotel alone, I insist on having a room on the second level or higher and away from the elevator. I just like to have my privacy, but I don't ever accept a ground level room for any reason. And it's just for accessibility reasons to protect myself.
Also doubled on that, don't accept a room with an adjoining door.
Yes.
And if you are in one, make sure yours is locked. And also make sure your hotel room is dead bolted shut. Because people can come in. It's happened to a lot of people I know. And me.
Yes. Yes.
They'll give your room to someone else. And it happens all the time, just accidentally. And like someone will have the key to your room and be able to just open the door. So that's fun.
While we're on the topic of safety, can we talk about kind of the elephant in the room, which is there's a lot of after hours and happy hour type of events that go on in conferences. And whether you're traveling alone or not, there are a lot of really generous people at conferences, vendors, like they will really take care of you with drinks and dinners and lots of things. So it's not uncommon for people to offer you drinks and for that to be a thing. And if you partake in adult beverages, but I do want to talk a little bit about two things. Number one is empowering yourself to know where your drink has been. And so if you're accepting a drink, that you accept it directly from the bartender. If you set it down for any reason and walk away, you have to abandon it. Do not feel compelled to finish it. If you have lost track of where your beverage is, my recommendation to you is to not come back and resume it, please. The other thing is sometimes when people travel for the first time, they might get a little carried away. Make sure that you have accountability partners with you and you have a way to safely get back to your room if you have a little too much. Hopefully, right? Like it's no one's goal to get there, but sometimes it does happen. So, please protect yourself. Make sure that when you leave, you're with someone you know and that you trust. Okay, I'm going to get off my little mom wagon here.
No, that is so important. That's one of the number one things that I see people get into trouble. And I don't mean trouble like get yelled at, or I mean trouble like with personal safety. And I know like I've accepted drinks from people and just said, hey, thank you. I'm just going to set it down. If it's not something that you want to drink. I think a lot of times at conferences, drinks are more prevalent than food, right? Would you say so? Free drinks are more prevalent than free food. You'll go to these cocktail hours and they'll walk around with these little trays of like little finger foods and then like open bar, everyone. And, it's important to know yourself too when you're walking into that situation because everyone's different, right? And it's important to kind of set like, at this time, I'm going to leave. Like I always do that. Like I'm going to leave at this time. And then in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to go to bed because, the mornings are early because you're there to learn, right? You're there. So we, of course, want to have fun, but also you want to take care of yourself. And then also be aware of what's going on in your hotel. If someone gets off the elevator with you on your floor, Sometimes it's better to just turn around and get back on the elevator. Just, you just never know. You have to listen to your gut. I think that's important. What else, guys?
I think it's okay too to know that when you go to these events, if vendors and are offering drinks and there's happy hour, it doesn't mean you have to get an alcoholic beverage. It's something, even in all my years of travel now, I'm still learning. It doesn't mean that I have to have a glass of wine or I have to do this. You can get a Sprite and put a lime in it. And Jenny Mason's great at this. I think she's on this as well, from CCS. She'll walk around with a drink that looks like alcohol, and it's not necessarily the case. So don't feel obligated to drink, but, still have the opportunity to go visit and have a good time. But, you could always get something else that, if it makes you feel better just to have a drink in your hand, because it does it does get a little overwhelming, especially for new attendees, to have people, oh, you don't have a drink in your hand. Let me get you a drink. Let me go over here. Let me take you there. Let me take you this. And just you can say no. And you can also ask for what you want. You don't have to take what they're offering you.
And also, and Julie, I know you were actually with me when we've had the situation. You're meeting new people, right? At these conferences, you're hanging out, you're getting to know each other. And sometimes there's a point where you start to get that gut feeling like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, we had an instance earlier this year where there was somebody that both my boss and somebody else were like, I don't know if we should really be hanging out with this person anymore. Like, it's getting a little bit creepy. And we had to find a way to kind of not invite them to our next plans, just for personal safety reasons, because everybody was getting the same weird, uncomfortable gut feeling from
and
that
it's good
person.
to communicate that, especially as women, hey, are you getting a weird feeling from this person, or is it just me? And that's what got us out of the situation, because we could communicate that to each other. Okay, what else on conference safety? I'm looking at my list here.
I would just add the loss of keys. So for me in particular, I lose keys in general, car keys, everything, but hotel keys. I have a habit of losing hotel keys. So somebody mentioned earlier about the apps. I think it was Nicole. The apps have the keys on them. Even if, you didn't put your charge on there, you can still have the app. You don't necessarily have to, use it to pay for the charge as well, which will let you have the room key access from your phone. But I have a habit of losing keys. And then sometimes what happens is when you lose your key, you have to go downstairs, and then everybody's downstairs having a great time. And then they try to continue out as well. And maybe you're ready for bed. So I always ask for multiple keys. I keep 3 or 4 keys. There's one in each bag. There's one in my pocket.
Yeah.
That way you always have access to get to your room in some way, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're going to your room and you can't get in the door if you feel uncomfortable by anything, for sure.
Yeah, even though I use the app for everything, I always go get 2 keys also too, just in case if the Wi-Fi drops, then you can't use the app. But the app has saved me because I always leave my keys in the room. So
don't tell anybody your room number unless it's a person that you wouldn't mind being in your room.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
And that's why they write it when they give you the key card. They're not allowed to actually say it out loud. That's why they write it down for you. And then on the app, you can actually toggle it on, showroom number, not showroom number. So you actually have that control also too. So.
Yeah. And it maybe not so relevant for, new timers that don't have business cards, but keep in mind too, wherever you put your business card, because your business card does have your cell phone number on it. I think this goes for both male and female. You don't know who's going to call you and what they're going to say or what they're going to do. So I'll leave it at that, but just be mindful of, where you put your business card, who you're giving your business card to, because it does have your information on it if you are using a business card.
Yes.
That's why my business card only has my desk number on it.
So smart. So smart. I should take mine off. I'm going to take my phone number off of my business cards. Joyce, I love your do not pass out. Yeah, that's a great try to avoid that at all costs. Okay, let's talk about packing tips, because I'm somebody who will tend to overpack and then be lugging all of this stuff around. And nowadays, airlines have 40-pound limits. on your bags. And of course, like if you have all your shoes in there, that's like 40 pounds right there. So what are some packing tips, physically packing, but like what to bring to a conference? Who wants to start?
I can jump in. So I have my stuff with me, and again, I'm literally after this conference going on the road, and I got my backpack here. So this is all I normally bring is one backpack, and then my bright orange suitcase, so that it stands out. Yeah, I am an Amazon Basics person when it comes to luggage. I refuse to spend the money on Tumi, because A, I'll lose it. B, I'll lose it. C, I'll lose it. And just, I don't know, they just get so beat up. I find with as much as I travel that a hard shell suitcase like that will last me about 3 years. My yellow one finally bit the dust last week. I also brought my packing cubes down. If you don't own these, run and go buy some now. The little cubes like this, and you can roll. I saw Jenny put that in there. Roll your clothes is a huge thing. But like for a week like this, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have to have business casual. So I will pack an outfit for each of those days, and I'll probably pack 4 or 5 shirts because again, I love coffee, and I will spill it on me. Nothing.
I've been there with you when you've done that.
Yeah, you've been there, right? Nothing white ever gets packed. I will typically also throw in an extra pair of pants because you just never know. And I have a hilarious story. One day I went to go wear a dress, and it was just me, and I was with male coworkers on this trip. And I couldn't reach behind me to grab the zipper, and it was the only outfit I packed. Rookie mistake, right? So I put on a blazer, and I went to the Starbucks, and I actually asked the barista if she could help me in the bathroom at the Starbucks. So
Starbucks saves the day.
Starbucks saves the day. Mortifying for her, it was mortifying for me. The whole staff were amazing about it, though. So yes, always have a backup outfit because of things like that, right? Like I've had a zipper break before, so it's just like things. So yeah, I will pack. I think I'm packing a skirt and 3 pairs of pants this week for this, right? So I've got my backup outfit. So about 4 to 5 shirts, and that's a lot for me. But again, I know that I've got to be business casual for three days. 1 pair of jeans for the whole week, and the tops I will mix and match. Like we'll go out in the evenings to get dinner and stuff like that, and I'll just wear the same business top that I wore. And then I try and only pack 1 pair of shoes with a pair of flats. No heels in the airport, only flats. I do pretty good with that sometimes, but sometimes I may sneak another pair of shoes in there. But again, I'm just trying to keep it simple, right? I have a pair of black heels and a pair of tan heels, and they match everything. So why lug all of this stuff around? And then it's less risk of me losing stuff.
Yes.
And those are some of my high level packing tips, especially with my wardrobe malfunctions that I've had. So God bless the girl in the Starbucks by the Pima office in Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I always pack a cardigan. Yeah, always pack a cardigan. I typically wear that on the plane. I always research the weather wherever I'm going, just so I know, right? I know I'm going to Maryland and Tennessee, so I know there's going to be a swing in the weather temperatures there. So a jacket for one place and not a jacket for the other. Just trying to think what else I do. I have 2 sets of toiletries, so I have 1 for home and then 1 that always stays packed. I have some friends that actually have 2 sets of makeup. I don't go that far. And that way I can just pick up my toiletry bag that goes right in my suitcase, and I know it's got everything in there. If I run out of something, I'm normally replacing it that day. If I run out of toothpaste, I'm going on Amazon or Walmart and adding it to my grocery order right away so I don't forget, because I've been caught in a hotel and like, oh man, how did I forget toothpaste and a toothbrush? Headache. I have a pharmacy with me that lives in my backpack.
Yes, that's important.
I have to take prescription medications. So again, I just make sure I've got one of those dollar store pill things. So like my grandma. But that's easier than carrying around the big bottles or anything like that. So those And I just try and keep it light. Like I am an overpacker. Like if I'm going on vacation, it's completely different. Like I'm taking a check bag. But for work, I'm definitely an underpacker more than an overpacker. I am not afraid to check my bag, and I may get some pushback on this. Some folks will say, no, always use a carry-on, always use a carry-on. I will gate, like if the plane is full and they're like, hey, can somebody gate check it? I will absolutely go gate check my bag. It doesn't bother me at all to do that. It's free if you do it at the gate. There's no cost to it. And the timing in the airports now, I've never lost a bag, and I've been traveling for 4.5 years. So it's never been an issue for me. Knock on wood, it's going to happen this week, right? But again, and especially if I have a short layover and I'm in like Atlanta airport, I'm just going to run and I'll let Delta get my bag to where it needs to go to, right? So those are my packing tips. I'll let other people jump in though. That's just me though.
No, that's good. I'll check a bag too if I need to. I don't like it because I have to wait for it once I get to where I'm going. I hate waiting, but sometimes you have to.
It's better than lugging it some days. Some days I'm just somebody else deal with it. Yeah.
I wear a lot of blazers too, which take up a lot of room. So
yeah.
If anyone has a tip of packing blazers, let me know. I want to add one thing on too, then I'll throw to someone else about the pharmacy. Back to what Tina was saying, if you're eating out a lot and you're not necessarily used to that, make sure you bring like a stomach thing, like Tums or I don't know, just because it's like, yeah, your body might retaliate and you want to have something there to help you, just in case. Okay, what else?
Well, I'm still learning how to pack. It's my nemesis. I went to the Monica Million School of Packing Luggage. And so our discussions back in the day, see, Jennifer's laughing because she knows, Monica's, her threshold was, does my bag weigh under 50 pounds? And I was the same way. I wanted to look cute and I wanted to have good outfits for during the conference and then after in the evening. And I wanted my workout clothes and I wanted something comfy to wear on the plane. And then I needed shoes that went with all these outfits. And I mean, I would pack 2 bags filled to the top. I mean, I was ridiculous. For years. And it's taken me, I'm on year 24. So I'm finally starting to get some sense in my head about a couple of things. So the most important thing I've learned, and I don't want to reiterate because like rolling the clothes, the cubes, all of that, perfect, amazing. I try to coordinate. So I just bring like staples with tops to make sure everything coordinates. And so I can make 3, 4, 5 outfits out of just a few items of clothing. And then, obviously like workout clothes and stuff I also bring. But then for toiletries and stuff like that, I like to keep a bag packed all the time of travel. But I don't buy the travel size. I find that they're very expensive and I'm accustomed to using certain products at home and I want to be able to continue using them. So, I invest a lot of money in my shampoo, conditioner, my hair care, and I don't want to use Suave or whatever Dove that you get. So I buy the little plastic bottles and I keep them filled with my products. And I keep that filled in the bag. And then for the other thing I would add to taking your pharmacy medications, supplements, if you go to Walgreens or something, you can buy those teeny tiny little plastic bags. They're little Ziploc bags. And you can dose out like what you need for your trip and then write with a Sharpie on it what it is. And all of it will fit really nice inside of a Ziploc bag. It doesn't take up much space. And you'll be really glad that you have all of that handy. Additionally, I find that I really sleep crappy when I am traveling. So I bring things like melatonin or chamomile, valerian tea, things that will help me just settle down and to try to get in a good sleep routine. But really less is more. The other thing I just want to add about checking your bag. So if you know that you have 2 bags, you're gone for a long time. I never pay to check my second bag, ever. I will always just pay to check the first one. And then I always carry it on board because 9 times out of 10, they're going to offer to let me check it at the gate for free. So don't pay for it up front. You will get to do it for free if you take it to the gate. And that's all I have. Who's next?
I want to add real quickly. I will tell you two things real quick as we're running out of time. I think obviously what you're saying, make sure that when you do that, I've seen this happen lots of times and they will yell at you that it's a carry-on size bag that you're going to check at the gate. Because if you come in rolling with that big old thing, I've seen some people do it and they're like, how did you get through here? Look, she's done it. So I'm advocate for suitcases. I will tell you when I first started, I'm sorry, I really liked Humi. I apologize, guys. But
She's a
hanger,
jingle.
I got it. It is very expensive, and every time I check it, my heart bleeds. But I started with an e-bag, and I have been traveling now almost 6 years, like I have been. And I have an e-bag, and this thing still works, and it's great. It doesn't have 4 wheels; it's only 2, which is a little pain in the butt. But I always pick a suitcase, and I think you'd have to show us if yours does, but it has 2 sides: one that zips on one side, and then the clothes is on the other. I keep my clothes on one, and then my shoes and toiletries go in Ziploc bags on the other. That way, if it leaks, it gets wet. It never gets my clothes wet.
There it is.
Yes. Yeah. Does it have a? Yeah. So it's got she's got a screen on the one side, so you can lock in everything. Perfect. That's the biggest thing I think when it comes to luggage, because you just want to make sure that your stuff doesn't get wet or damaged. And this did just recently happen to me in Gulf Coast again, where something got wet. I don't know how, and it did destroy my white shirt.
No.
It did. It's okay.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, I think when you're packing, and that's the biggest thing. It's hard to know what to bring. And unlike others too, I like shoes, so I will tend to pack more shoes versus clothes, and then realize I don't wear half the items. And I do use the cubes as well. So yeah, but definitely make sure it's 2-sided. Definitely keep your toiletries on one side and your other stuff on the other.
Julie, what have you learned?
Well, so I learned with Nina, whoever went to Nina in Kentucky, it was freaking hot. So extra clothes down to your underwear, because halfway through the day, most of the days, people had to shower because your clothes were just sticking to you and it was gross. And some of my friends were running out of clothes to change into because they were changing more than they needed to, or more than usual because it was so hot. The other thing is comfortable shoes. Fun fact, most people don't know this, Crocs actually sells heels and flats. So they look like regular flats, or like I have suede wedge heels, and they have like the Crocs insert on the bottom of them. So they're extremely comfortable and cute. So y'all should look into that if you don't have Crocs heels. They also have cute sandals. I wore my Crocs flats when I presented with you, Sarah and Nina, and I'll be wearing them again later next month to present.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean, I'm also a lover of shoes, and I always, if I'm walking back and forth to the conference center, I definitely have flats or like my Birkenstocks, and then change when I get there, probably only for when I'm presenting. I feel like I need to look a little bit taller because I'm 5'1", so don't come at me with the heels. I have to wear them. But yeah, so there's definitely comfortable options. But Karen Marquez introduced me to these blister. They're not Band-Aids. They're like, what are they called? I have a ton of them, and they don't take up a lot of room because they're like a flat sheet and they have different shapes. For
New Skin.
Is it new skin? Moleskin, right? Well, those are Band-Aids. This is different. Oh
No, this is the blister Band-Aid.
Oh, okay.
So they look like this. I don't mind open. They're probably going to use it later. But they're
they're really cushion.
Yeah, they have a cushion and they make a bubble.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never seen those.
They're called blister Band-Aid is the ones I like. And so they look like this. And so when you put them on, the blister will build a bubble. So once you've already got, these are like after the fact, or I put them on sometimes too, and they build a little bubble so that keeps from rubbing. So you can still go tomorrow again and wear the exact same shoe that just caused a blister because it won't hurt. And I'm with Sarah on this. I'll keep the heels on.
Yeah, and like even if they're not heels, if they're newer shoes, I did this in flats in so I don't know where it was, but I think in Texas wherever we were in Texas. I wore flats, but I had worn them a lot, and it killed me. And this is for men and women. Shoes, you just never know. Okay, we're actually over, but I do want to kind of go around and say, if you have one tip that we haven't talked about yet, like what is your favorite? What is the one thing that you've learned that you think is most important to share? Julie, we'll start with you.
I would say the most important thing that I learned is to bring a sweater, even if it's summer, because the conference rooms are freezing. So you sweat walking to the conference, and then you get hit with air conditioning on the way through the door, and then you're freezing the entire class. So always bring a sweater.
Nikki?
I have two. One is, and I'm not endorsed and I'm not advertising or anything like that. But look at the credit cards. I am a huge fan of the Capital One Venture X card, not a specific chain or anything like that. I actually can get access to first class lounges using it. And that is a huge, huge plus. And it's not as expensive as some of the others. And the points on it are amazing. So I would, if you're looking, get the travel credit cards. The perks are awesome. I also have the Delta card too, so I get the free checked baggage, so that pays off. So it's little things like that, but I don't have any hotel credit cards or anything. I just have the Capital One Venture X. Love it. It's an awesome card. And then the second thing is download the apps, use them. They're fantastic. I do everything. I book all my hotels, Uber, flights, everything is through the app. I rarely actually go online to do anything, and they have been lifesavers. And sign up for all the reward points.
Yes.
So I am a Hilton Delta. That's my primary. My other, I can say fiance now. I just got engaged over the weekend. My fiance is a United Marriott. So between the two of us, there's always some type of points. But I have a Marriott account too, also. So when I do stay there, I can get those points. So those are my last kind of tips.
Those are great. Jen.
So my number one tip is to always put your keys in the same spot, and like your car keys. Now, I recently almost lost a rental car key. So I will tell you, my poor daughter, I was in California at the California conference, and I almost lost a rental car key in the state of California, which is very pricey and expensive because they tow you and then they charge you for the key. It's very expensive. I found it long term. So anybody that's ever traveled with me that might be on this call will know this too. I have a bad habit of losing the rental car keys and even my own keys. So I now latch them typically to something like on my backpack. Like usually they have a little drawstring where I'll latch them. Somebody saw earlier the little Apple tags. Those are a good idea. I haven't got to that point yet, but I probably should. Somebody got me one for Christmas that's still sitting on the counter. That would be number one for me. I think just make sure you know where your keys are. And I'm an advocate for parking. Like I tend to park in the same spot. And I don't know why I do that, but even like if I have a rental car, I'll park it in the same spot of the lot of the conference every time. And then even at airports, I always park at the same spot. So I know where my car is when I get back a week later, because sometimes we forget, and I know our apps and stuff will tell us now, but just parking, remembering where you park the car and remembering where the keys are. Those are the biggest things for me. I like the one about checking the closet. I recently left a jacket, like I said, in Baldwin County. I have lost so many clothes because I always forget to check the closets. And I just leave things kind of laying around. And don't forget your chargers. That's a big thing too. Even when you're sitting in hotels or restaurants and stuff, I'll plug my charger in and just walk away from it. So those would be my tips.
Great. Yes. Very, very good. And Tina. Yeah.
Well, I'll just reiterate that less is more. Less is more when you're packing. And then brand loyalty. We touched on that. Nikki touched on that a bit. But if you utilize the same hotel chain, airlines, car rental, and you sign up for their rewards program, you will earn points over time that will benefit you personally. So, it's really wise to do that if you travel a lot. And then the other thing I want to mention is if you are a person who likes to collect a lot of swag in the conference on the expo floor, you can ship it. So instead of trying to cram it into your bag, check with the hotel lobby. Sometimes there are avenues where you could send all of it to your home by FedEx or whatever. I had an unfortunate incident back in 2013 in Anaheim. I got a huge box of like 250 sets of real life like metal finger cuffs. They were like legit cuffs with a key. A whole box. They were trying to offload them at the end, and I packed it in my bag, and the TSA had like a heyday with my checked bag. So if you don't want to get like on some kind of a list with the FAA, ship your swag. Trust me on this. It was crazy, but I'm sure I'm on a list somewhere. But finger cuffs. Who knew?
Cuffs. Who knew? You just never know. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. I'm just trying to think. TSA pre-check. I am like, I've not gotten, I'm crazy. I've not gotten it. My life is crazy. I haven't like taken the time to go, but like also almost missed my flights because I live in Orlando and the TSA line is so massive and so full of children and so slow. So I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite and harp on the TSA thing. But the card that Nikki's talking about, I believe they'll pay your TSA pre-check fee for you, right?
Most of the travel cards, all the airline cards will actually reimburse you. You get a credit on your statement for it. So it pays. I think that's how I got Clear, because I got a travel reimbursement on it. So I signed up for Clear too. So I have both pre-check and Clear.
Awesome.
Love it. Love it.
So that's important. I'm just going through the things we didn't get to. Know the time zone you're traveling to before you go. That can really throw you off on a lot of things, not only at the conference, but things you're tracking back home while you're away, like keeping up with your family and things like that. So know that. And I think that's it. I'm going to put all of our biggest tips into a document as well. And I'll share that in the Facebook group. The Now Wonder Woman Facebook group is a great place too. If you're trying to find a buddy, you can post like, hey, anyone else going to Florida Nina? And you can kind of check in with each other there. But most of all, make sure you make the most of your opportunity while you're away. Sometimes it's hard to be away from your responsibilities, but you are. So try to be present and meet people. Making connections with people is by far the most valuable thing you can do at a conference. So yeah. Anything else in closing? All right, this was great. Thank you, all the panelists, for being here today and taking the time. Again, we'll have more resources out in the group. Any questions, you can always ask in the group. And we will see you all soon. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.